What if Frieza aligned with the Saiyans to defeat Beerus? Part 2. Beerus smirked, his arms crossed lazily. So, Bardock and Frieza, you're the best this universe has to offer. Entertain me. I've been looking forward to this. The battle began with a ferocious charge. Bardock's blazing red aura contrasted against Frieza's radiant golden glow as the two warriors attacked in unison. Their strikes were swift and calculated. Bardock's raw power, complemented by Frieza's cunning techniques, dodged with ease, countering with a single strike that sent Bardock crashing into the ground. Frieza seized the opportunity, firing a massive death beam that illuminated the battlefield. Beerus caught it with two fingers, twirling the energy before hurling it back. Frieza barely dodged, but the resulting explosion shook the planet. "No matter how much you try," Beerus said with a yawn, "your power pales in comparison to mine." After minutes of relentless fighting, Bardock and Frieza were visibly exhausted. Beerus had barely broken a sweat. As they prepared to launch another attack, Beerus raised a hand to stop them. "This is getting dull," Beerus declared. "But I'll give you credit. You've lasted longer than most. Perhaps if you combined your powers, you might provide me with something resembling a challenge." Whis, standing nearby, chuckled softly and produced two Patara earrings. "These will allow the two of you to fuse into one warrior. But be warned, the power you gain will still have limits." Bardock and Frieza exchanged hesitant glances. "Fuse? With him?" Frieza sneered, though he was too battered to argue. Bardock smirked. "If it gives us a shot at taking him down, I'm in." Reluctantly, they each took an earring. A blinding light erupted as Bardock and Frieza's bodies merged, creating a new being. The result was a warrior of unparalleled power, Bardoza. His body combined Bardock's muscular build with Frieza's sleek alien features, radiating godly energy. Beerus raised an eyebrow. "Interesting. Let's see what you've got." Bardoza stood tall, his aura a fiery blend of godly red and radiant gold. The ground beneath him cracked from the sheer energy radiating from his body. Beerus, for the first time in millennia, allowed a small smirk of genuine intrigue to spread across his face. "You might actually be worth my time," Beerus said, loosening his stance. Without a word, Bardoza vanished. In an instant, he reappeared directly in front of Beerus, his fist colliding with the god of destruction's open palm. The impact created a shockwave so powerful that the air itself seemed to ripple like water. Mountains in the distance crumbled and the ground around them shattered into fragments. Beerus countered with a sharp knee strike, but Bardoza twisted midair, dodging with a fluidity that belied his immense power. He retaliated with a spinning kick, the force of which cracked the atmosphere. Beerus blocked it, skidding back slightly but remaining unfazed. "You've got some strength," Beerus admitted, dusting off his arm. "But power alone won't defeat me." Bardoza charged again, unleashing a relentless barrage of punches and kicks. Each strike was a symphony of precision and raw might, forcing Beerus to shift from a casual defense to a more focused one. Their movements were a blur, faster than the eye could follow. The planet itself groaned under the strain of their battle. With a roar, Bardoza unleashed a beam of energy from his hands, a mixture of Bardock's godly ki and Frieza's lethal precision. The beam tore through the battlefield, carving a deep canyon as it surged toward Beerus. The god of destruction raised a single hand, catching the beam and crushing it with a flick of his fingers. Bardoza didn't let up. He raised both hands to the sky, summoning an immense sphere of energy that radiated an intense, pulsating light. "Take this!" he shouted, hurling the sphere with all his might. Beerus leaped into the air, meeting the energy attack head-on. He punched through it, causing a blinding explosion that illuminated the entire planet. Before the light faded, Bardoza appeared behind Beerus, his fist glowing with destructive energy. He landed a devastating blow to Beerus's back, sending the god hurtling toward the ground like a meteor. As Beerus rose from the crater, his expression darkened. His playful demeanor was gone, replaced by a cold, deadly seriousness. "You've managed to make me work harder than I expected." But playtime is over. Beerus's aura flared, a brilliant violet that swallowed the battlefield. He charged at Bardoza with unimaginable speed, their clash creating ripples of energy that echoed into space. Beerus struck with precision, landing a devastating punch to Bardoza's stomach that caused the fused warrior to cough blood. Recovering quickly, Bardoza grabbed Beerus's arm and swung him into the ground, following up with a barrage of energy blasts that pelted the god like meteor showers. Beerus emerged unscathed, his energy shielding him from the attacks. Not bad, Beerus admitted. But it's time I show you why I'm the god of destruction. Beerus raised his hand, summoning a colossal sphere of destruction energy. The ball crackled with raw, annihilating power, its weight distorting the space around it. This is Hakai energy. If it touches you, there's no coming back. Bardoza braced himself, sweat pouring down his face as he prepared for the attack. Instead of retreating, he roared with fury, summoning every ounce of his power. His aura exploded outward, creating a fiery shield of red and gold. The two forces collided in a spectacular explosion, the light blinding and the sound deafening. The ground split apart, magma erupting from the planet's core. Bardoza pushed against the Hakai sphere, his muscles straining as he tried to repel it. Beerus smirked. Impressive effort. But it won't be enough. With a flick of his wrist, Beerus intensified the sphere's power. Bardoza's shield began to crack, and he roared in defiance, summoning even more energy. His aura burned brighter, but it was clear he was reaching his limit. In a desperate move, Bardoza absorbed the energy from his shattered shield and condensed it into a single point in his palm. "This is it!" he shouted, firing a beam that collided with the Hakai sphere. For a moment, the two forces were evenly matched, the universe holding its breath as the ultimate clash unfolded. But Beerus's power was insurmountable. The Hakai sphere consumed Bardoza's attack, overwhelming the fused warrior. With a final earth-shattering explosion, the battle was over. When the dust settled, Bardoza's energy flickered and then dissipated entirely, forcing the fusion to separate back into Bardock and Frieza. Both warriors collapsed onto the shattered ground, their bodies broken and drained of every ounce of strength. Beerus stood over them, unscathed, his expression unreadable. He looked down at Bardock, whose breath was shallow and labored. Frieza, though barely alive, managed to glare defiantly at the god of destruction. "You gave me a decent fight," Beerus said, his tone devoid of mockery. "But even the strongest mortals can't stand against a god's true power." Bardock coughed, blood dripping from his mouth. With trembling arms, he forced himself to sit up slightly, his fiery determination undimmed despite his condition. "We gave it everything," he rasped, his voice weak. "Even if we failed, our people, our legacy, won't end here." Beerus's eyes narrowed, a flicker of respect flashing in his gaze. "A warrior's resolve to the bitter end," he said quietly. "But resolve alone cannot change your fate." Bardock turned his head to Frieza, who was struggling to breathe. For the first time, the Saiyan warrior saw no malice or arrogance in the tyrant's expression, only the grim acceptance of defeat. "Frieza," Bardock said, his voice soft but firm, "you and I, we've always fought for ourselves. But this was for something greater. Maybe we weren't meant to win, but we made a stand." Frieza let out a weak chuckle, blood trickling from the corner of his mouth. "Don't get sentimental on me now, monkey. We'll meet again in hell." Bardock smirked faintly. "See you there, lizard." Beerus raised his hand, the deadly energy of Hakai forming at his fingertips. The battlefield was silent, the weight of the moment pressing down on everything around him. The god of destruction stared at the broken forms of Bardock and Frieza, ready to deliver the final blow. But then, he paused. The glow of Hakai dimmed as Beerus lowered his hand, his sharp eyes studying the fallen warriors more closely. Their bodies lay motionless, but there was no fear in their expressions. Instead, both Bardock and Frieza bore faint smiles, resolute, almost defiant. "They're already gone," Beerus muttered, his tone carrying a strange mixture of disappointment and respect. Bardock's face was turned toward the distant horizon, his smile a reflection of the hope he had placed in the new generation. Frieza, ever the prideful one, had a smirk frozen on his lips, as if even in death he refused to concede entirely. Beerus crossed his arms and sighed. To think, they both died smiling. Mortals truly are strange creatures. Whis stepped forward, observing the scene with his usual calm demeanor. "They fought with everything they had, Lord Beerus. Even you can't deny their resolve." Beerus turned away from the fallen warriors, his gaze shifting to the sky. "Resolve or not, they were no match for me. But..." He hesitated for a brief moment. "They've done something rare. They've left a mark, not just on this battlefield, but on their people." Whis smiled faintly. Perhaps that was their true victory. The Saiyans watching from afar will remember this day, not for their defeat, but for their bravery and sacrifice. Beerus gave a dismissive snort, though there was no malice in it. "Humph. We'll see if the next generation they believed in can truly rise to the challenge." From the safety of a distant ship, Kakarot, Raditz, and Prince Vegeta watched through the viewport, their eyes fixed on the scene of devastation. Below them, the remnants of planet Vegeta, once the proud home of the Saiyans, lay in ruins. Beerus, the god of destruction, had reduced it to ashes in a final act of dominance. Their fathers, the strongest warriors they had ever known, were gone. Yet, even through their grief, Kakarot and the others couldn't help but notice Bardock and Frieza's final expressions, visible on the monitors before them. Both warriors, despite their defeat, bore peaceful smiles. "They're smiling," Kakarot murmured, his voice heavy with emotion. "Even after all of that, they're smiling." Raditz's fists clenched at his sides, his usual arrogance replaced by a storm of anger and determination. They knew they wouldn't survive, but they still faced him. "They gave us this chance." Prince Vegeta stood silently, his gaze fixed on the smoldering remains of their planet. "Beerus destroyed everything. Our home, our people. But they trusted us. They fought to give us a future." As their ship drew closer to its destination, Kakarot looked out into the vast void. "We'll find Broly," he said, determination hardening his tone. "If he's as strong as they believed, he'll be the key to turning this around." Vegeta smirked faintly, though the weight of their mission pressed heavily on him. "And if he's not, we'll make him strong. Stronger than anyone could imagine." As the ship neared planet Vampa, a desolate, rugged world that had been Broly's prison for years, the trio knew their journey was only just beginning. They carried not just the hopes of their fallen fathers, but the legacy of their entire race. The Saiyans would rise again, stronger than ever, ready to challenge even the might of gods.